Hello friends, welcome again. Now in this lecture I will be taking test during ANC. Okay, this is a clinical use lecture. In clinical practice, what are the tests we advise during the antenatal care? A rough idea compiled in the one lecture. If she comes to you, whenever she comes to you, what do you advise her? Set complete blood count, which tells her about hemoglobin and her other indices, like if her RDW, if it is high, that means if her hemoglobin is low, her RDW is high, it means that she is having multiple deficiencies, not only iron deficiency anemia but also other vitamin deficiencies. Okay, now from CBC, then her blood group with RH typing is important. These tests are mandatory to be done in any antenatal. Suppose you are MBBS graduate, and if suppose you have done postgraduate in any other subject, so you should be aware about what, if a woman comes to you, she is pregnant, what are the tests you are going to advise. You just can't say go, and you should be aware what are the tests necessary in clinical practice. So this is a lecture dedicated to that only. Do not ask tests that are not required, so which are basic minimum tests that are to be done in any antenatal woman. During her first visit, her CBC to know her hemoglobin and other indices, blood group and RH typing. If she is RH negative, she is a high risk pregnancy. If her hemoglobin is low, she is a high risk pregnancy. After blood grouping and RH typing, if her blood group is comes to be RH negative, then you will be doing blood grouping and RH typing of her husband also. If he is also negative, so her partner is also negative, she is negative, no worry. But if she is RH negative and her partner is RH positive, okay, then it is of worry. She comes under high risk pregnancy. Now after CBC blood grouping, you will be doing blood sugar level, fasting and post meal. Okay. So if a fasting is within normal limit, the normal limit are different of mostly all these things apart from blood group. Normal limits, they are different. I will be covering the normal limits in pregnancy in various conditions in their respective chapters, when I will be dealing with the medical complications of pregnancy like anemia, like diabetes, like kidney function. All the limits are usually different. And you should be aware, an obstetrician should be aware, who is doing clinical practice, about the normal limits of pregnancy. Suppose a woman is coming with the fasting blood sugar 100 or 105. This is not normal for her. Although this is normal in a non-gravid woman, but in a pregnant woman, this is absolutely not normal. Okay? So you will be doing fasting blood sugar and post meal blood sugar. The next thing is CBC blood group, PSL, TSH. What are her TSH? TSH levels are also different in antenatal and in gravid and non-gravid women. If it is more than 2.5, you initiate the therapy. Now after TSH, these are the screening tests you will be doing in every antenatal woman. After TSH, after counseling, HIV testing. This is to be done for both partners, preferably both partners, but after proper counseling and also consent. You just cannot write on your paper HIV 1 and 2 without counseling them, without taking consent. If they come to be positive, and if you have not told them initially what are the implications of being positive, they may sue you. They may go to court. So proper counseling of partners and taking consent, you will be going with the HIV testing. Then HCV testing for hepatitis C, HBS, AG testing for hepatitis B. These are screening tests, and VDRL. It is being done routinely. Earlier days, syphilis was a difficult thing. It was common also. So VDRL in our setup, in our country, VDRL is okay to be done. So, and urine, routine microscopy. Routine microscopy. So these are the things, these are the tests that any woman, antenatal woman, blood test, complete blood count, her blood grouping, her blood sugar fasting, her TSH, after counseling and consent, her HIV status and her husband's HCV, HBsAg, VDRL and urine routine microscopy. These are to be done in every woman. Okay. Now coming to level, her ultrasound. In early pregnancy, TVS. What for? First trimester. If she is first trimester and you do her ultrasound, what you get? Suppose if she is not aware about her LMP, or if she is confused about her LMP, or if she does not have regular periods previously. So this first trimester dating scan. If her calculated EDD and ultrasound EDD, if they have a difference of more than 10 days, suppose the calculated EDD says 1 July as the expected date of delivery, and if her ultrasound EDD says she is 12 July in first trimester only, 12 July, then you will be taking in consider this 12 July, not this 1st July. So this will be her corrected EDD. Suppose if our USG EDD gives 8 July, so the difference 1 and 8 is less than 10 days. So you will consider this as her expected date of delivery. If the difference is more than 10 days, you will take the ultrasound EDD into consideration. This is important, but this is to be applied only in first trimester. Only in first trimester, not in second, not in third. Okay. So ultrasound. Also in ultrasound, not only for dating, what you see, you confirm whether it is a intrauterine or extrauterine pregnancy. By ultrasound, you confirm whether this is a intrauterine or extrauterine pregnancy. So you rule out ectopic. One complication, one big complication is ruled out. Okay. If you confirm this is an intrauterine pregnancy, this is ruled out. Ectopic is ruled out. Now you, after this, suppose she is having only gestational sac with no fetal node. Okay. Only gestational sac, no fetal node. So you will be repeating it after 15 days, preferably after 2 weeks. And in the next scan, if you get fetal node, it's okay. She is the normal pregnancy. Even if after 7 weeks, at 7 weeks, there is no fetal node, 7 weeks ultrasound, not dating. No fetal node, we write it as blighted ovum. That means gestational sac has found, but there is no fetal node. So this is not a viable pregnancy. Blighted ovum. Suppose there is a gestational sac, also there is a fetal node, okay, and cardiac activity, you then look for cardiac activity, pulsating cardiac activity. If it is present, this is the viable normal pregnancy. If it is absent, if cardiac activity is absent, then this is a missed abortion. Missed abortion. So be very careful while labeling blighted ovum. What is the difference of blighted ovum and missed abortion? Missed abortion. Do not confuse with these two terms. Blighted ovum, only gestational sac, no fetal node. No fetal node. And in missed, whatever the duration of pregnancy, suppose at 8 weeks, 9 weeks, you come across only a gestational sac is seen intrauterine, but there is no fetal node. It is blighted ovum. And if you have a gestational sac and you have a fetal node and you do not have a cardiac activity, this is missed abortion. So in that case, you will be, both the cases you will be doing suction evacuation, but definitely you should be aware about the correct terms that you use in both the cases. Okay, it doesn't look good if a medical graduate writes blighted ovum and ultrasound is saying that USG is fetal node present, no cardiac activity, so it doesn't look good. You should be aware about these two terms, blighted ovum and missed abortion. Detail we will be discussing in the chapter related with abortions. Now ultra-TVS. This is test for first trimester of pregnancy. Now coming to her second trimester. Second trimester mein what we will be doing? After 16 weeks of her pregnancy, of her gestation, after 16 weeks of her gestation, what we will be advising her? Triple test. This is a screening test. These are all screening tests. You should be doing this to each and every pregnant woman coming to you. These are all screening tests. Okay, you filter, एक तरीके से you filter the high risk, that woman that could be high risk by doing these tests. This triple test from 16 to 20 weeks of duration is done. Nowadays quadruple test is also done. Detail of this triple test and quadruple test I will be dealing in respective lectures. This can be done till more than 20 weeks. Up to 21 weeks we can do this. The sensitivity is a little higher as compared to triple test. What are the benefits of these two tests? We will be coming across them in the respective chapter. So this triple test, what do we screen? For neural tube defect mainly, and for Downs syndrome mainly, and neural tube defect, Down syndrome, and any abdominal wall defect, anterior abdominal wall defect of child. Neural tube defect, suppose a woman comes triple test screen positive. What she comes? She comes triple test screen positive. Does this mean that her child is definitely, her developing fetus is definitely suffering from either NTD or Down syndrome? Does this imply? No. If she comes screen positive, what you will be doing? You will be looking for another signs of NTD or Downs in her pregnancy, like you will subject her to level 2 ultrasound. If her level 2 ultrasound is absolutely within normal limits, reassure her that although she is screen positive, her baby is absolutely fine. But if you come across any abnormality in her level 2 ultrasound which are indicative of Downs or NTDs, you may subject her to next level test, which is centesis. Okay, so if she comes saying positive, oh doctor, my triple test is positive and I want to abort this child, she comes to you, what you will be doing? Okay, come, we'll do the abortion, we'll get rid of the abnormal baby. No, this is not the way. Tell her that she is only screen positive. Out of suppose 100 women having this screen positive test, only one will be having an abnormal baby. So reassure her, tell her the next step that we will be taking. We will be undergoing level 2 ultrasound, preferably around 18 weeks gestation. Preferably around 18 weeks gestation. If this is absolutely normal, no other sign, then tell her go and take rest and sleep आराम से. क्यों? She is having a normal baby inside. It was only screen positive, don't worry. Her ultrasound is normal, her baby is fine. If you get some abnormalities or some other signs in ultrasound also, level, if there is any short sign, then you can directly go to terminating the pregnancy. If there are some indicative points, then you will be subjecting her to next test, that is amniocentesis. Okay, so you should be aware that triple test screen positive is not always a bad news. Okay, this is not always a bad news. These are screening tests. Only you are filtering the women that may have some abnormality. Okay, now this is there are dual test also which is done in early gestation and chorionic villus sampling. Chorionic villus sampling and dual test, they are done in, the advantage is they are done in first trimester. I will be dealing in detail these tests, their indication, their drawbacks, their contraindications and their complications in the respective chapter, but just to tell you that dual test and chorionic villus sampling is done in first trimester of pregnancy. Now at around 18 weeks you will be again subjecting her to glucose tolerance test. It depends upon place to place, center to center, what they take it normal. Some centers they do 50 gram glucose challenge test. Some centers they do 75 gram glucose tolerance test. This is also to find the women who are prone or more at risk of developing gestational diabetes. ठीक है, 18 वीक्स पे हो गया. At around 20 weeks we will be doing her urine routine again, and preferably we can also do culture. Sometimes we get asymptomatic bacteriuria and so we can also go for culture. Okay, these are the tests that has to be done in each and every case you come across. Then after that, at around 28 weeks, what you can go, you can get her ultrasound. If on clinical examination you find that either there are some chances of IUGR or the height of uterus is not corresponding to period of gestation. If you have some signs like which need further assessment, you can advise her ultrasound. Now after 28 weeks, how is her pregnancy going, what are the complications she is developing, you will be advising test according to it. She may need Doppler, she may not need. Every woman does not need Doppler as screening. There is no need. If you find that there is a IUGR sign that her height of uterus is not corresponding, then you can go for frequent ultrasounds, Doppler studies, and various other assessment tests for fetal well-being. If she's saying that I am having itching in third trimester, you can get her LFT done to know the intrahepatic cholestasis of pregnancy. If she is diabetic, very frequent glucose, blood sugar level estimation. If she is anemic, then hemoglobin estimation, to look for what are the her response to the therapy. So depending upon her clinical condition, you will be advising. But these tests in the first visit and the ultrasound and the second trimester test, they are must for everyone. You should be giving them. Then one more important thing, TT immunization. Everyone should be aware of. ठीक है? Every MBBS student should be aware of tetanus toxoid immunization in a woman, or which vaccines are to be used. ठीक, जैसे for tetanus immunization, earlier it was that it should be given between this to this period of gestation. No. First visit. Now WHO says first visit, give her, irrespective of her duration of gestation, give her first tetanus shot, because there are more chances that she will not turn up when you want to immunize her. Okay, so her first visit, give her first tetanus shot, irrespective of her period of gestation. Either she is 8 weeks or 7 weeks or 12 weeks or 20 weeks, whatever she is coming to you, give her first shot. And after preferably 6 weeks, tell her that her second shot has to be given around 6 weeks later while giving the first shot. In this way, we can immunize maximum women during pregnancy against tetanus. Tetanus is a deadly disease. They are very limited. You may count them on fingers. Those who have survived after getting tetanus. And more important, what kind of vaccination can be given to pregnant women? Vaccination during pregnancy. It's a simple rule. Always remember. Always. Killed vaccine? Yes. You can give. Yes. You can give any killed vaccine. Okay. Now suppose there are like tetanus toxoid, it is not even killed vaccine. Okay? Killed vaccine can be given only and only what are to be avoided? Live attenuated vaccines are to be avoided in pregnancy. Preferably avoided live attenuated vaccine, because pregnancy compromises the immunity of a woman, and these live attenuated vaccine may cause harm to the woman and her developing child. So any live attenuated vaccine is to be avoided in a pregnant woman. Only after considering what are the risks, what are the whether she is really at risk of developing that disease which may really infect, cause damage to her pregnancy, then only we can give, but preferably live attenuated vaccine are no to pregnancy. So in this lecture I have covered the basic tests that are done during antenatal care, first trimester, second trimester, and later in third trimester the tests they vary from person to person. You just cannot give a rule ki, okay, these are to be done, this should not be done, this is to be done. It depends upon the course of a pregnancy, her complications associated. So this is test during antenatal care and you should be aware about it. And vaccination, live attenuated vaccine, always avoid them in pregnancy. So if you in your exam, if you get an MCQ that out of the following which vaccines are not to be given in a pregnant woman, so you are aware that live attenuated vaccines are not given in pregnant women. Thanks for watching, and if you have any queries regarding this topic that I have covered in this lecture, please do write in comment box. I will reply soon. Thank you.